guys, so today I'm going to start with a first lesson on grammar and I'm going to be talking about agreement today. I know that a lot of you are at different levels on this group, so I will be doing things every day that go from right down to the basics all the way up to more complex things such as your grammar structures. Today I'm going to sort of do like a middle of the road one to get started, and I'm going to be talking about agreement. So what agreement is, to make your sentences sound a bit more like they make sense in Spanish, you want to make sure that it all links up. Agreement is a bit like doing a jigsaw puzzle. You've got to make sure that each thing matches in your sentence. If it does, you're perfect, you've done it well. So in Spanish you have two types of word. You have masculine words and you have feminine words. Masculine words end in an O, feminine words end in an A. When you are doing a sentence, it matches up. So your feminine words, if you're talking about, for example, a table, which is una mesa, you would say, if you want to say a beautiful table, instead of saying bonito, you're going to say bonita, because you want it to match up with the mesa. So you're going to keep it continuing throughout the sentences. So if you're talking about a masculine object, and I've got some examples that we're going to go through in a minute as well. If you're talking about a masculine object, you're going to want to do obviously your object will end in O because it's masculine, and then your adjectives, so say again, if you're saying beautiful, you would want it to end in an O as well, so bonito. If you're talking about a feminine object, both your word and your adjective need to end in an A. So, an example of this, if I just turn my camera around, ignore all this because this is for later. So, un libro is a book, and una mesa is a table, and then bonito and bonita mean beautiful. So, because it's un libro, it has to be bonito. And because it's una mesa, it has to be bonita. So it's just like making sure that your word links up and it forms a nice sentence, so making sure that you're joining it, and if one thing ends in A, you want to make sure that all of the rest of the words that you're using to describe that object also end in A. Okay, so the next thing is when you have plural objects. So a plural object is the same in English, it usually ends in an S, so it's more than one of an object. So again, using the example of books and tables, it would be libros, so you add the S on, so it was libro for one, libros for many, so books rather than just a book. And then mesa was one table, so now it would be mesas, so it's more than one table. And then with your adjective, you're just going to do the exact same. So instead of it being un libro bonito, it would be libros bonitos, or unos libros bonitos. And then the same with tables. So instead of it being una mesa bonita, it would be mesas bonitas. So if I just show you that written down so that you can see. Again, it's these two here. So libros, you're going to add the OS on. And then bonitos, you're adding the OS on. Mesas, it's that AS. And bonitas, it's the AS. So again, this is feminine because it's got the A in there. So it's feminine plural, and this is masculine plural. The final thing for this lesson in agreement is for words that don't fit that pattern. So not all adjectives end in an A or an O. All nouns do, but not all adjectives do. So for example, you've got genial, which is great, and interesante, which is interesting. Because they don't end in an A or an O, you can't swap the words around. So in the singular, so when you're just talking about one object, so like un libro, una mesa, you just leave it in that format. You don't change the endings at all with it. So if I wanted to say an interesting book, I would just leave it as interesante. So I would just go back to start and say un libro interesante or una mesa interesante. It's the same for both. And then with genial, you would do the same. So un libro genial, una mesa genial. And the final thing is those words in the plural. So again, you're going to want to add the S on. But in Spanish, some things make more sense than others. So interesante, that's easy to add an S on and it sounds fluent. So interesantes. So that's your plural for interesante. And that'll go on both again. So libros interesantes or mesas interesantes. You just add that es, make sure the es is on the end. And then with genial, because it doesn't end in a vowel, you're not just going to stick the s on, you're going to stick es on, so it'll be geniales. So if I show you that one written down as well. So geniales goes from genial to geniales, and from interesante to interesantes. So again, in the singular, you would just use genial, so un libro genial, una mesa genial, or interesante, un libro interesante, or una mesa interesante. And then for plural, you would use these ones, so libros geniales, or mesas geniales, or libros interesantes, or mesas interesantes. So basically, to summarise all of that, it's just making sure that each part of the sentence matches the part that came before. So I'm going to pop up a little worksheet, and I'll also obviously post this lesson to make sure that if you want to get some practice in, you can. Again, this might be too high level for you, this might be too lower level for you. I will be posting content that's all different levels on this page. So just let me know if you would like anything specific answered, if you've got any specific questions, want to know any specific words or any specific lessons. And other than that, I'll see you all later.